So it hit me like a sack of bricks this morning as I was getting ready to leave the house. And my jaw dropped open. You know, sometimes you listen to lyrics for years and years and years, and you hear them and you know them inside and out, and you think you understand what's going on, and then something gets revealed, something hits you in a different way where you ask yourself different questions. In this case, I'm talking about the concept masterpiece that is Lou Reed's Berlin. It's a really sad work. Sad is not the right word. Devastating. It's a tragedy. It's a tragic opera about post-World War II Berlin and this couple, Jim and Caroline, and, you know, it's full of drugs and prostitution and domestic violence, and, you know, there's nothing like extraordinary or spectacular. It's like the most depressing John Cassavetes film, but sonically, and you know, just like a family drama in an apartment flat in Berlin. And basically the story is this guy Jim, who is narrating what's going on, and, you know, he's into Caroline, and she is like this free-spirited sort of, you know, lady who, you know, she does drugs, she's into prostitution, she has kids. We don't know whose kids they are. We don't know if some of them are Jim's kids or that there are other kids that are a byproduct of said prostitution. But she has kids, as in multiple. And that's the brilliance of Lou Reed's narration. You know, he's not giving us the full story. He paints a picture with very broad strokes. The words are very particular, and you really have to sit and think about what is being said in order to really understand what is going on. And apparently I did not understand what was going on until last night, when for some strange reason, albums can, you know, invoke certain moods, and Berlin makes me feel very sad. And for whatever reason, I decided I was going out. It turned out it was Lou Reed's birthday, actually. Ironically, I didn't realize that until afterwards. Someone mentioned that. I decided that I was going to put on Berlin live at St. Anne's from 2006. And, you know, it's one of my favorite live albums. It's the best, you know, iteration. I think I like it better than the studio recording of Berlin. Lou Reed has revisited those songs a few times. He also did, I believe he did the Bed and Sad song on The Raven, which is another favorite of mine by Lou Reed, which is also a sort of a concept album, if you will. So I'm sitting there listening, and we get to the heart. You know, generally when I do listen to Lou Reed's Berlin, I have to turn it off. It's at the kids, because when we get to the kids wailing and crying at the end of the song, I literally can't take it. It makes my heart break. I imagine my daughter crying, my little almost 4-year-old daughter crying, and it makes me, I weep for the children. I weep for children that never existed in this, you know, fictional song about children being taken away from their mother. It is such a simple, devastating concept, this idea, you know, your mother, not everybody's mother, but generally speaking, grossly generally speaking, you know, your mother is your universe, right? And to have your universe taken away from you at such a young age, and the crying of these children, it's not the type of crying that you hear when a child gets its toy taken away or doesn't get what it wants or whatever. And can't verbalize what I'm trying to say. It's the type of, it is a devastating cry. It's the same cry in Hey by the Pixies, when Black Francis says, all night, and Mary, ain't she tired? But this, he says, this, is the sound that a mother makes when the baby breaks. Meaning that, like, the guttural, sound of devastation when a mother loses a child. And this is the reverse of that in Lou Reed's Berlin with the kids. This is the guttural sound, the guttural moans and wails that a child makes when its parent, particularly its mother, is taken away from him or her or they or them or whatever. And so this morning I'm just started to ask myself questions. I'm going, huh? What I was thinking about what he was singing. It's kind of an earworm. The Kids is an earworm, and he's singing, since she lost her daughter, all her eyes do is water, but me, I am much happier this way. And I always wondered, why was Jim happier this way if the kids were taken away? Potentially his kids were taken away too. Who knows? Because she was an unfit mother. It's the saddest friggin' story in the world. You know why? Because it happens so often. It's such a real thing that happens to real kids. And so when you hear those real cries, I mean, those dramatized cries or whatever they did to get kids crying, you know that is a real sound that real children make every day, wishing that their mother was with them. And it literally breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. And so generally like last night, I usually turn off the kids before the kids start crying in the song, because I just can't fucking take it, dude. I can't take it. It just kills me every time. But I'm pot committed to the album. I'm listening. It's been such a long time since I listened to it. I'm really enjoying it. And suddenly, as I hear Jim saying that, and me, I am much happier this way, it hit me like a sack of bricks. In the story, in the song, Caroline's kids are taken away by the authorities, and Jim starts listing all of the, all the sexual acts that she was, undertaking with various strangers that would come to the boarding house that they lived in. They talk about that boarding house in Lady Day, walking down the hall, there was a bathroom down the hall, blah, 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 blah. And how Jim was so hurt and so disgusted. He's so hurt, especially in Lou Reed's live performance of the song. You can really hear what his intent was with the lyrics and the melody as he plays the narrator of Jim, who is just utterly disgusted with Caroline and all the men that she is sleeping with. And he goes through them and how she did it. She flirted in front of him, and his revenge, his retaliation, was to call the authorities on her and have her kids taken away. Holy crap. And it's right there in the line. It was there the whole time. It's been there since 1973. The album is 50 years old this year. And I haven't been listening to it for 50 years. I've been listening to it for about 15 years. And it just makes so much sense. Ever since they took her daughters, all her eyes do is water. But me, I am much happier this way. Because he's happy that Caroline, he finally hurt Caroline in a way that worked. Because, going back to the stuff about the domestic violence, Jim beats on Caroline. He beats her up. And she says, in Caroline Says Part 2, she says, she's not afraid to die. You can't hurt me anymore. All this stuff. She puts her fist through a window pane, and then of course Lou Reed, in the most sadistically, heartstring pulling way, has these chimes juxtaposed against the lyric of she puts her fist through the window pane, as if it's this magical shimmering thing. It's it paints such a clear picture. It's just, oh God, is it devastating. But anyway, in the previous song, Caroline says that you can't hurt me anymore. It doesn't hurt when you beat me anymore. That whole thing. That she's not afraid to die. And then Jim calls the authorities, has her kids taken away in order to elicit a more suitable reaction desired reaction that he wanted from Caroline. He suddenly, because she wasn't afraid to die, but she does something that he was not expecting, and that's the next part that's the swan song, really. Not the swan song, but the penultimate swan song. I guess sad song would be the ultimate song. But this idea that he intended for her to hurt, but he did not intend for her to make good on the fact that she's not afraid to die. Because in the very next song, after she loses her kids, it's called The Bed. And The Bed is about the bed that Jim and Caroline shared in their apartment. The apartment is like just as much of a character because it bears witness to all of the things that happen between Jim and Caroline. And so she takes the you-know-what, I don't want to say it out loud, the RACOR, and she unalives herself with it. She in her bed and leaves, and she doesn't want to be around anymore because her kids were taken away. And it's just, and then you have Jim just almost, it seems, at least to me, in my interpretation, Jim is describing what happened, and he's kind of remembering it because he says that awful, faithful night, meaning that it happened in the past. And then he says, oh, what a feeling. He keeps dwelling on this feeling. And what does he mean by that? I think he means like, a feeling of regret, a feeling of shame, a feeling of shock, like all these things that he never intended. He just wanted to hurt her. I say he just wanted. He wanted to hurt her. There's no justifying the unjustifiable things that Jim did. I just mean that his intention was to make her sad, not for her to do what she did to herself and not be here anymore by unaliving herself. So it's a masterwork, dude. And that part never, ever, it's just like suddenly, Berlin is painted in such a different picture to me when I realize that it was Jim, dude. Jim was the dude who did that. He friggin' called the authorities and had her kids taken away because he didn't like what she was doing with other men. Oh my God. Just devastating. If you've never listened to Berlin, I will say, if you have a temperament for depression or sadness, this feels like an infomercial. Side effects include, but in all seriousness, it's a really sad, depressing album. I love it. I have to put it on when I'm in the right mood or when I have a good temperament or when I'm prepared for the kids, because I lose it every time the kids comes on. It just, and listen, whether you feel a special affinity for children or you are a parent yourself, when you hear children crying in that way, it's the worst thing in the world. It's the worst. It really is the worst thing in the world. And I'm just shocked, and I guess, and I totally didn't even realize it was Lou Reed's birthday yesterday. So happy birthday to the grumpiest man in all of rock and roll, one of them at least. It's a shame that I'm grateful I had the opportunity to see Lou Reed live at Lollapalooza in Chicago. In fact, that's what led me to Berlin. I was browsing and that video popped up. I was like, oh crap, that was the show that I saw of Lou Reed. It was not a good performance, but you can watch it in all its glory if you search Lou Reed August 2009 at Bonnaroo in Chicago. It was interesting. But he's a rock and roll legend, dude. So I was grateful to have seen him live. Many legends I have not gotten to see live, but Lou Reed is one of them. And yeah, man, that's it. What a trip, huh? What a trip. Okay, I gotta go. I will talk to you later.